Hindsight 2024. A look back at the Successor Trucking Engagement, Site 2024, which was held at the Lander Center just outside of Memphis in South Haven, Mississippi.
We've got 3 key players that you'll be interacting with on a regular basis in the ES community. On the far left, Jason Williams, CEO of Expediter Services. We've got Andrew Ryan, he's the general manager of Dobbs. And we've got Nate Meyer, who you've seen many times on Q&A with me from Stoops. Most of the time it's been behind a video camera because during all of the pandemic, when we did in-site conversations, not on-site, Nate was my guinea pig for the most part. Okay. We've kind of had, as far as the topic subject here, we're buying a truck, and we've said to you many times that now is the time and this is the place. But when I thought to myself, what would I ask these folks, I had the question of why here, why now, and why with us? So Jason, as the leader of the pack, I would say if you were to answer that question, why here, why now, and why with us, a little bit about ES and why these folks should be wanting to do or grow their business with you.
Well, hopefully what you've gotten a feel of is that wherever you're at, wherever you're coming into the industry, whatever you're hoping to accomplish, that we have brought vendors, either we do it ourselves or we've brought experts into the field to assist you in doing it and making sure that you have those resources, information, the talent, access to talent that you need. We like to tell people inside of our office, we don't do everything. We have no one person who does everything. You hire people. When you run a small business, you don't have the opportunity to hire 50 people, 100 people, 200 people to fill in holes for you. And I hope you're seeing that the community is doing that for you. You have the ability to access the talent, again, the resources that you need to run your business well and allow us to spread that leverage over hundreds of businesses and everybody participate. And so we just wanted to throw a wide net out today, yesterday and today, and let you get a feel for just how big this community is with the brands that are represented here as well as the expertise they bring to the table for you.
Yeah, and to add to that, everybody has a reason for why not to do something. There's a million reasons why not to do something. You could talk about the economy, you could talk about the election, and maybe things will get better, maybe they won't. But to me, the best time to buy a truck was yesterday, right? You get in business for yourself and make something happen and be able to have the ES community support you and make you a profitable business and help you run. To me, the sooner you can get started to do that, the faster you can start making money, the faster you can start being, successful. And I think the time is now. I don't think there's a real reason to wait. If things get worse, you're still in business. If things get better, you're still in business because you've got the community to support you. So to me, I don't see any reason to wait.
I think now is a great time because one, you're here. It shows you have some initiative, you have some drive. So you have some interest in taking that next step and in owning your own business. And in doing that, one of the hardest parts, obviously, is getting started. And when you have a group of people like that have gathered here today that can help you take that first step and get past that first step and then continue on to be more successful, now's the best time. Like you said, who knows what tomorrow's going to bring, so you might as well start today.
I feel like he's talking to my lunch partners, wouldn't you say? All right, so Jeff Tacker said last week, and this is my quote that I mentioned, it's not my words, but he said, ownership is not just about saying, I'm going to buy a truck. If I'm headed out into the wilderness, I'd want the best guide, the best accommodations, the best balance of ROI. It should be enjoyable but yet fulfilling. So I think that really resonates, especially when you're talking about the relationships and the purchase here. The business and job, it's work, right? We're here to work, but we also want it to be enjoyable and fulfilling. The truck is our tool to do the job, but we do want it to be comfortable and efficient and help us make money, not just be a true expense to us. But all trucks aren't made equal, right? So in terms of specs and efficiencies, the right truck that's spec'd the right way, but also available. I want to talk a little bit about that. What would you want to see, Jason, in equipment as a buyer, and why? And I'm guessing that kind of sets the stage for what these two have available in the network for you.
Sure. So every buyer is different. Remember, we buy as a fleet. And so when we purchase, we know that there could be multiple people that get in and out of that equipment, which is different than an owner-operator who purchases because they may be living in that truck for the life of the truck till they get rid of it. So we come to the table with a little different, maybe need, probably a little less need than someone who's going to take that truck and actually drive it and run their business out of that truck. So because of that, we looking for stability. We're looking for a national footprint. We have to have good uptime. We have to have fuel economy. We're looking for an investment and then a return off of that investment. And so then we turn around and say, okay, we know we can pay the truck note, make money off of it. Then we turn around, we work with the people who are going to utilize that truck and say, what do you need in the truck? And now you're looking for driver comfort and things of that nature. But with us knowing that a lot of the trucks we purchase ourselves are going to come in and out of our fleet fairly quickly, and we're using that as a training fleet to do something else with. So again, a little different perspective, maybe even on, Mike said that I didn't have a favorite truck. I do, it's a profitable truck. And so I don't have a favorite brand as far as a Peterbilt or a Freightliner. Again, I do have a favorite dealership as far as Dobbs and Stoops. So we've chosen to do business with dealerships that help drive profitability off of that truck for the whole company and for the fleet. So we probably buy a little different because as a fleet, you just buy a little different, but we do spec. So we're always looking for safety. We want to make sure that the truck is going to be a safe truck. We're turning around, we're looking for efficiencies. We're looking for uptime, making sure the truck can get in and out of the shop. It's not so specialized that you have a lot of downtime trying to get it back to only one shop that can fix it, or something so specialized, again, that you can't get it fixed wherever you happen to have broke down. So those are the things we're normally looking for and why we settled on the equipment that we have with the Freightliner and Peterbilt piece of equipment. So that's what we're looking for in specs. We also look for, we can't have it so specialized that only one type of person would want it. So we look for anything inside the truck being automatic, transmission. We want certain seats. We want certain mirrors, automatic adjustable. Again, people swapping sides. We have a lot of women in the fleet, and just you may not think about it if you've been only in a man type of team situation. But every time the drivers change, the seats have to adjust, the mirrors have to adjust. Lots of things have to adjust to let most ladies get in behind a man in the seat. And so all of those things have to be seamless. And so that's typically how we're speccing a truck for ourselves.
I mean, who remembers automatics from 20 years ago? I mean, they've come a long way. I mean, automatics 20, 25 years ago, you didn't even want to touch them. 15 years ago, still struggling. And so, spec-wise, the industry's made a lot of advancements in technology and resources and able to, increase fuel mileage, comfort, and stuff like that. But really, at the end of the day, when we have a customer that comes to us like ES and say, hey, here's what we're looking for, the first thing we got to do is we got to listen. We got to understand the business and understand what they're looking for. And all the things that Jason listed, you got to understand, hey, this is what we're trying to do, this is what we're trying to accomplish, and then we've got to be able to build around that. So you can get as technical as you want in specs. You go down the list of what you really need, but it's, we talk about women in trucking. That's easily overlooked. You talk about how the hood is, sometimes too long and you can't see around. My wife, for example, she doesn't even like driving my truck, my pickup truck. So it's like, how do we change our truck from the old model to this new age of people that are coming in the 2024 model and the 2025 models? How does that affect the people that are driving today, not 20 years ago? And so it's a changing industry. A lot of young people are getting in the industry. A lot of people my age that, hey, trucking's cool again. It's cool to be a truck driver, and that's something that I'm excited about because the point of entry is easy now. It's a little bit easier than it used to be. And there's a lot of people that sometimes see that as a negative to where, you can only drive an automatic, so, you're not a real truck driver. I don't believe that. If you can get behind the wheel and you can dedicate your life to this industry, then you're a truck driver. You're moving the freight that we need. And so to me, I'm excited about the way that the specs have gone to where it's easier for more people to get in, because we need more truck drivers. We need more people that can come to a community like this and start a career and grow into a successful business. So to me, I mean, spec-wise, like I said, we can get into a lot of technical discussions, and I'm sure we will, but really it's about, one, listening to the needs, understanding the fleet, and then going from there.
Yeah, specs are an ever-changing thing going on in our industry, constantly having to adapt and change for that. We've worked with ES, been in general trucking now for about 5 years, give or take, and we've slowly refined that truck over the years, and it's become a great truck for us. In fact, quite a few other guys within our company, they base their trucks that they sell to their customers now, and I've got a few others of my own that base theirs off the ES spec. So it's something that we've worked on, refined, and it's really come together over the years. But we're always looking to update it and looking for feedback from drivers, from owners, as to what we can do to improve it. Most recently, like the Women in Trucking, we added the air release for the fifth wheel. That was something that we'd gotten feedback on and had it traditionally done. You don't see it a lot out there, but something that we made a change to. So we're always looking to adapt and bring whatever new technology to the markets out there that's going to make everybody's lives easier and make the truck more productive.
Okay, let's look at the other side of that now. There has to be a list of things that, even if it's a short list, that you would avoid. Jason, in all the years that you've been supporting small business owners, helping small business owners grow into fleet owners, and seeing the entire perspective, including the financials, there have to be some things that you feel folks really miss the mark or should be avoiding. So for example, there are a lot of places that you could buy a truck. You may not be able to access them everywhere, right? But people have a lot of options. There are probably some marks that they might miss somewhere else that you've taken a point to help them to avoid. And likewise, I think from our dealer perspective, are there things that people think they might want, but always end up back in the shop? I don't know. Give us a little inside scoop. So Jason, from your perspective, where do we miss the mark sometimes?
Well, when we come in behind you and finance with you, and of course these are your ideas, your thoughts, your truck, if it's a new truck or if it's a used truck that you found, we're going to be looking for a return on that investment. And so if you get so specialized that you're the only one who wants that truck, then we're probably, because that truck has to have a second life. So if we think that you're the only one who will ever want to drive that truck, we're probably going to raise a flag. If we believe that you're putting more money into the truck than the truck can pay back, we're going to raise a flag. Again, we're trying to run a profitable business. If we think that you have a Heath here who obviously very technical in what's going into that truck, if we see you want to change the drive line or the length between the wheels, and people always say, well, let's tweak this and let's add this and let's slide the fuel tanks up because somebody told me if I did that, I'll get better this or that. And we just don't argue with the experts. So we kind of look for certain things. We let the experts spec the truck out. That's what they do. They'll stand behind it. They warranty it. And then we're always looking for what is it going to do while you're running it, and then can you get rid of it? Because there has to be an exit strategy as well. And if you don't go into the truck with an exit strategy, honestly, that's why people buy. We have the brands here. That's why there's some brands not here. And that's something we've not really talked about today. We have the option to do business with whomever we want to. And there's some people not here because don't mean there's anything bad about the equipment, maybe why it's running. Maybe you can't get rid of it. And I can tell you there's some equipment right now that you would not want to try to sell as a used piece of equipment on this market. You'd be underwater tremendously. So you just have to keep those things in mind, and we do try to make sure that people are investing in a business, not going out and buying a luxury vehicle and you're not putting extra money into this thing because you want to drive it around. You're putting money into a business to get a return off that investment. And so we try to make sure the spec stays very tight to that thought. What are you going to get out of it? What's it going to gain for you? And some things are worth. So quality of life is worth it if it lets you sleep better at night. Hey, that's safe. That may mean that you stay out on the road a little longer, you generate more revenue. That's worth doing some of those things. But some things are not worth it. Some things, once you've got a big pile of cash and you want to burn it and you want to throw it at the truck and just add stuff to the truck, then do that. But don't go borrow money and have interest payments on something that does not actually return an investment or drive revenue for you.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, just going the opposite direction, I think you can also underspec, right? Just to try to save money. And so really, I mean, the way that we spec for ES, I mean, it's while it's not overspec'd, it's definitely spec'd for the market and for comfort and for driver safety, and it's got the features and the benefits. And so to me, it's a double-edged sword. In my previous life, I was a used truck director for the company, and he's right. There's a lot of trucks you don't want to sell. There's a lot of trucks out there that you don't want a piece of. And so you've got to be really careful when it comes to speccing trucks. And the trucking industry's tried a lot of different things. I mean, 6x2s were really popular for a long time. Wide-based wheels were popular there for a while, super singles. I mean, there's a lot of things that have been tried and discontinued and ups and downs. And I think, to his point, I don't think you want to be the pioneer. You don't want to be the guy who is going to try something new. I think going in and working it and figuring out what you like, and then as you do drive it, and as you grow in your career, you can kind of tweak it a little bit, but really working with a company that has this background of, these guys are professional truck buyers. I mean, they buy trucks for a living. They know how to do it. And they work with, guys like Stoops and us and to work together. And we're pretty specific in our reviews. We get engineers involved from Peterbilt when we need to, just to make sure that we're doing the right things. I'm sure Freightliner does the same thing. So, to me is just trusting the fact that the trucks that are available, they're available for a reason. It's because they're mass produced to be successful. And, again, just look out for underspecking and overspecking. That's two of the big things that I see that really will set a truck back.
Yeah, Jason said you got to have a good exit strategy. If something goes wrong, you have to be able to sell it, trade it off, whatever like that. I think a few things I would stay away from, like specifically on specs at this point, a manual transmission. I don't know the last time I saw a new truck come with a manual transmission. It's not out there very much anymore, but you may get from time to time somebody asking for one, and that'd be kind of a hard sell. Safety systems, those have really come into the market here. The take rate on those is really high. I'm even starting to see more people on the used side, excuse me, as they are shopping for used trucks that are asking for the safety systems, whereas 3-4 years ago, it was hard to even get people to take them new. ES, I'll say they were one of the first ones that I worked with who started to ask for that on all their trucks, trying to be safety conscious and based on that. But overall, yeah, I think we have a good middle ground with the specs. Same thing with the Peterbilt trucks. Good middle of the road trucks, nothing that you don't need, but everything that you do need.
I want to talk about access. I heard allocations and access several times in the last couple of days, and over the last few years, access to equipment has been up and down and way up and way down. As the market shifts, it may come up a lot more as well, but in terms of access, number one, folks have asked, what should we expect? And then in terms of thoughtful access, let's say a truck isn't available here until this time, but you could go somewhere else. Why stick around and wait for that truck here? So, again, the why here, why now question, and then also what to expect.
Yeah, so as far as the truck availability, we do have trucks on the ground. And so you understand how this works is that ES, with our existing community, so some people here are already doing business with us, you've already purchased through us, so you're a part of the existing operating community. Some of you are looking, and you're looking to grow. Some are new, and you may want to be a part of what we're doing here within the trucking industry. But just so you see how we come to market is that we go for our whole community, and we may say we're going to need 200 trucks this year. And that's not trucks that ES plans on personally buying and driving. This is for the community. So this could be somebody buying 1 truck, somebody else needs 10 trucks, somebody else needs 5 trucks. So we go out and we look at our whole community and say, what are we going to need to help people grow, upgrade, buy their first truck, whatever that is. And we kind of have to guess at that based upon feedback. And then we go to our dealer network and we say, okay, what can we get our hands on? And we bid that order out. So the difference, why would you want to buy through here? They'll sell you a truck if they have it on the lot. But without getting into details, private details just here on the stage, I can tell you that if I go out of network and purchase, I'm going to spend anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 more for the truck because I don't get a buy rate on that truck. If I buy with a package, I can cut anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 out of that truck. And so when you come and you purchase within the community, we allow you to have access to that buying power. That's part of it. So somebody buying one truck gets to buy like somebody who buys 10 trucks, like somebody who buys 100 trucks, like somebody who's buying 1,000 trucks. And so that's the way the community works. And so even the other vendors that are here, if we just so you know, if we finance the truck, if we insure the truck, if we service the truck, all the things that you've seen today, you get to participate in. So all of these vendors allow the buy rate to pass through our relationship with them to you if you're operating in the community in some way. And that goes from the truck to the diesel, TA in the back, you'll buy as if you're ES. And that's a lot of gallons. If you are Infinity, if you need a safety, they'll sign you on and service you like you're one of thousands, not like you're one of one. And so it gives you coverage. So as far as why I come in and buy through these dealers versus going home a month later, showing up on these dealer lots and buying direct, if they have a truck, they'll sell it to you. And we would tell them to sell it to you. You don't have to come through us to buy a truck through them. You couldn't have access to the trucks we've ordered because those are set aside for us, and you certainly couldn't have access to the price we buy at on any of these products. And so again, our ability to pass that through to you is part of what we're wanting to make sure you understand and the resources that we're bringing together to help you start in the most beneficial way possible.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of, hey, you got to buy a bunch of trucks because the factories and the dealerships don't care about the individual. I hate that that's how it works, but that is how it works in today's world. I mean, my father-in-law is a truck driver, my uncle's a truck driver. They buy as if they're one driver, and they don't get the benefits that ES has. And so the way I look at it is, it's not just the price, it's not just the financing, it's not all the other benefits. It's the fact that Jason and ES have come to us and said, hey, work with Peterbilt and Freightliner on our behalf. And we've answered that call, and we said we're willing to go get better pricing from the OEM as well. It's not like it just comes from us, it also comes from the factories, and we have to go and say, hey, look, here's the community. It's not just 50 trucks here. I mean, it could be a huge community, a huge impact. It's not just one customer, and we're able to sell that to the OEMs. I'm sure Freightliner has done the same thing, and we go there and say, hey, let's participate together. And that's why we bring Peterbilt into these events. That's why we want them to understand the story and what's going on here as well, so that they see not just a buyer's order for ES, but the whole picture.
Well, yeah, and just going off what Andrew said, what you can imagine is the efficiencies gained. Since we basically have two specs sitting up here, they turn around and they say, okay, if you're ordering this many trucks, you're going to need this many bumpers because we know how many accidents you're likely to have, and you're going to need this many widgets and this many lights and this many, and they can start building part supplies for the order that's coming in. Versus again going in and out of the shop one truck at a time. It allows the dealership to also prepare for the other business that flows out of that truck order. So it does push efficiencies through the whole system. It's not just buying the truck.
Yeah, so as far as availability, since 2020, if you would have walked into basically any dealership, regardless of OE, they would have told you they don't have a truck for you. We're starting to see that loosen up a little bit. If you come into Stoops, just as an individual coming in, you want to buy your first truck, I'm still going to tell you, I don't have a truck for you. So the only way you can get one is partnering up with someone like this. That availability is starting to loosen up, it seems like, but it will probably stay like that at least for a while. And what we're looking at in the future, Heath brought up there's a big emissions change coming up in 2027. Some of the engines might go early on that, and what we typically see on that is the big fleets, even if they don't need trucks immediately, they will either not back off any orders that they already have, or they will come in and get more trucks ordered. So this may be a little bit of a dip or a lull right now in availability, with more becoming available. But probably going into next year, it's going to go back to nothing for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off that, I mean, I would expect allocation 25, 26 for for sure, just in preparation for a pre-buy for 27. So that's, I mean, and potentially that could raise the price of trucks again. And we're talking about in 27 with new emissions, that's going to raise the price of trucks. So again, why now? I mean, right now literally could be the best time to buy a truck.
Yeah, so if you're imagining we're coming off of a freight recession, we think we're kind of at a bottom. Most people in the industry think the freight side is at a bottom. Trucks have come down in pricing some. We've been able to get some buying power through the dealer networks to get those things more in line than what they were just 12 months ago. Believe it or not, they're actually cheaper now than they were 12 months ago. So with freight coming back up and knowing that in about 18 months, you've got this new engine coming down, it's, you've got a very short window to get in the business and get a truck that you know that has history to it. All those people buying that new engine will be rolling the dice. Now, both OEMs are going to say, we've got it. At some point, they're going to stand behind and sell the truck. But at the same token, they're going to hold their breath like they did in 2008 when all the new engines came out. And for those of you who were here in 2008, it put Caterpillar out of the over-the-road trucking. I mean, they couldn't even make the turn. So they pulled all engines off the road. So you're seeing that kind of major change coming again in 2027. Those trucks will start getting delivered in 2026, those engines. So again, your window's not, but we're not talking about weeks, but we are talking about months. And all of a sudden, this opportunity in trucking is going to close, and there's going to be about a year to 2 year gap where people really don't know, should I even buy the truck that's being offered? Is that new truck worthy to start a business with? And we'll see.
I was in a meeting with ACT, and they were going through some numbers, and their projection for 2026. So a typical replacement year for new trucks, just if everybody just bought replacement and only, no growth, you're looking at 250,000 new trucks sold total for Class 8. They're projecting in 2026, 350,000. So that's a pretty big increase just over replacement. So that's why we don't know. I mean, it's not like we have inside information on what the factories are going to do, but just being in the business and talking to the experts and the people at the factories, it does seem like allocation will definitely be back just to prepare for this.
I want to dip in here. I didn't give them my questions ahead of time, so they're just kind of on the whim, and they've brought up changes in regulation. So can you guys just elaborate? I'm going to skip ahead to the question. The new rules have gotten a lot of attention. So can someone just elaborate on that and what it's going to do to change what's on the road, what it's going to look like in the near future, and then is there any real impactful change that folks need to worry about? I think you've probably answered the last part of that question, but can you just touch on what is changing and what it looks like for them in the near future?
I'm not going to go into the details. I tell you what we've done as a company.
Don't go into the details.
Because I don't know them. I'm telling you, we've had experts. Dobbs brought in experts from California and spent a day with us trying to understand. And what you leave with is, it's changing too fast. There's no way if you're not living that every day to even keep up with it. So what we chose to do was just get aggressive this year to buy this year before these changes take place. It was the best business decision we could make for ourselves.
So is it a grandfathered in kind of situation? If you have the equipment already, then you're not going to be dealing with that?
Well, we definitely didn't want to be dealing with what was coming in 2027.
Okay.
So we just sped everything up from an upgrade standpoint to get them done now versus waiting and going into 2025. But they can go and they'll know the details a lot better than I do.
Yeah, so in 2027, it's been mandated by the EPA. A lot of that's driven through CARB, which is the California Air Resource Board, who's driven some of the changes that we're seeing currently in the industry with this year. So in 2027, they have to cut tailpipe emissions again. In order to do that, the engines that are currently in production are not going to meet that. We're going to see new engines come out, new after treatments. As far as what those are, we don't really know. We've heard some rumors, over the last few months, but to speak with any certainty to it, I don't think we can do that right now. Usually what we see is, so that's in 2027, everybody will have to do that. Typically, Cummins is usually a year ahead, so they'll probably in 2026, they might start rolling theirs out, or at least partially rolling it out to get it out there, real world testing. So this is all emissions-related stuff driven from the EPA, which has kind of taken some orders, I would say, or some lead at least from CARB in California.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I can speak to as well. But I mean, really, again, I just go back to what's changing. The point of entry. Right now, it could potentially be the cheapest time to get into the trucking industry. With everything changing on emissions, prices are just going to go up. New engines, prices are going to go up. You talk about allocation, prices are just going to go up, and it's going to continue down this path. When I was a director of used trucks at the company, like I said before, and in 2020 we sold it was called 1,000 used trucks, and my recon cost was $1.4 million. Last year, I sold roughly about the same amount of trucks, and my recon cost was $3.5 million. That was just parts and service, right? And so everything is continuing to go up. And so with all the changes that are coming, the one thing that will change for sure is the cost of business.
Okay, I just want to remind everybody, if you do have questions that you're going to want me to pose to our panel, please do enter them into the app. I'm just looking at the time. I want to be cognizant of the schedule and making sure that you still have time to network with folks after our panel. So if you have questions, put them in the app. I'm going to keep going on my list here. Last question in this section, then we'll move on to straight trucks and then back to some other considerations. We've got solos, we've got teams, and the same amount of space in one unit. You guys have mentioned women, and I just want to call out, because it's come up in conversation several times, but with the Women-Owned Business Initiative with ES, they financed over 238 women-owned businesses, and based on the number of women that I spoke with in this room, I think the number is going to go up. So, certainly you've also mentioned accommodations and adjustments that women were not only asking for, but demanding. But focusing on solos and teams, and certainly if you want to add anything to the women discussion more than what you did, you're certainly welcome to. What considerations are made in these trucks for one person and then for two?
Yeah, so bed configuration, normally if you know you're going to bring in a truck as a solo, you can go with a larger bottom bed and maybe more cabinets in it. So you're really talking about storage and sleeping accommodations in a factory truck. When you get into custom trucks, which the straight trucks, as we get into that, there's a lot more you can do inside of a straight truck with a custom, 100 and something inch sleeper on it than you can a factory sleeper. But regardless, you are trying to make sure that, are you bringing in a truck that's got to do dual purpose, solo and teams? Is it strictly team or is it strictly solo? And there's some slight configuration changes between those two on the factory side. Not anywhere near as great as when you get into the custom sleeper straight truck side, which is they're completely different outfitted equipment to accommodate two people versus one.
Yeah, I mean, more room, more space, right? I mean, when you're over the road and there's two people, it's already cramped when there's just one person in there. So, that's why we went with the Ultraloft design. We were one of the last OEMs to have a condo sleeper, and we realized that change was coming, so we went ahead and accepted it, and we built the Ultraloft, and now the industry leading. We've got the widest bunk. I mean, that stuff we understand matters, and the creature comforts. As you're out there, you're living in these vehicles, and we want it to be the best experience possible. And so, cool thing is you can customize as much as you want, but really when it comes down to what we try to do in our standard specs, we try to already build that accommodation in with an 80-inch sleeper, 7 foot of head space, 7 foot of standing space, and the headroom, the storage. I think you mentioned 7 cubic square feet. I mean, just trying to make sure that you've got room to store everything and that you're comfortable when you're there. Hey, is a 32-inch TV big anymore? Not really. I mean, I remember when I bought my first 32-inch TV, I didn't think it was massive. Paid $900 for it. Now I can get it for $100. But being able to at least allow you to take something with you and make you feel like you're at your house, at your home, and trying to make sure it's more comfortable for you. That's what we try to do in a standard spec now. And we assume, the assumption now I think is going towards, we assume there's going to be two people there, because you're seeing that more and more. So the assumption is we want to make it comfortable for however many people you have in there.
Yeah, you gotta make the most of the small footprint that you have, in the sleeper. So obviously we expect the larger one too. If you were a solo out there, you could probably get by in a 60-inch, maybe even a mid-roof, something like that. But with the team, you want to have the bigger sleeper, taller sleeper. Obviously the 2 bunks. I think the APU is probably a big upgrade or essential piece of equipment for teams. You have more power that you're needing to pull from because people have more appliances, electronics, all that kind of stuff they want to plug in.
Yeah, and some things you may not think about until you start just really experiencing it. And of course, we have people in here who live on the road who know it better than anybody up here. But a lot of the times when we see teams not getting along, it's simple things like, well, they're playing their music too loud when I'm trying to sleep. Well, you have things called Bluetooth now, right? So you can have your earbuds in. There's things that have come along and they have brought it out of the cars into trucks that allows the quality of life and just being considerate of each other. The safety equipment you may not think plays a part, but if you've never slept in the back of a truck while somebody else is driving and you're trusting them to drive while you sleep, that's a lot of trust. And we do have some people who say, look, I just can't sleep when somebody else is driving. So you put safety equipment on that truck and now you have crash avoidance, lane assist, things of that nature, and the person who's in the sleeper bunk relaxes and they sleep better. And so yes, there are things that you can do in the truck to accommodate beyond just space, but peace of mind, letting them be considerate of each other, let them have their downtime when the other one's driving, things of that nature, so there's not constant conflict in the truck as they compete for both space, sound, things of that nature.
All right, I want to shift over to straight trucks, and I'm going to keep it somewhat tight because I see like 8 questions in the queue, and 4 of them are better than mine. So I want to speed you along here for this one. In terms of straight trucks, let's talk first. Our previous conversation: availability, access, the specs. Is it the same? Is it different? What should folks expect in terms of access, and then how straight trucks are spec'd?
Well, you only have that I know of 2 custom dealers. So normally when you go with a straight truck, you're talking about team to compete, you're talking about having to have a custom sleeper on the truck. You're not seeing that many, and Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're just not seeing that many factory sleepered straight trucks being produced. Most of the time you're going custom. So you're talking about a 6 to 8 month window to order that truck at the earliest. Is that fair? Yeah. 6 to 8 months, and you're talking about customizing that truck, pretty considerably. The cost of the truck almost doubles, and so now you're talking about you need to make sure that you're going to be in it for the long haul, whether as a fleet owner or as a driver, that you're going to be able to pay that thing off, because you go from a straight truck will not produce consistently the same amount of money that a tractor will produce. So people at times think, well, I can go drive in general trucking and make $1, or I can go drive in expediting and make $2, $3, $4, $5. Well, you can also drive a tractor in expediting, and you can pull the motor carrier's trailer. And so when you go straight truck, you also always have the option of going tractor as well, and your revenue is shortened because of that. Now there's benefits for it, and I think Leah wanted to get in that maybe on another question, but as far as the sheer spec of the straight truck, availability is low. There's only a handful of used ones. There's probably less than 20 used ones that we would consider true over-the-road straight trucks in the whole country right now for sale. And then you probably have less than that many new ones available in the whole country for sale. So when you think about the size of the economy and the trucking, and you may have 40 straight trucks that would be really considered worthy of as an over-the-road straight truck to start a business with, that's not many pieces of equipment. And these 2 dealerships probably own half of that capacity. And so it's, and we've generated most of that capacity ourselves through our own order. So there's just not a lot of it out there. It's a very specialized piece of equipment. Long lead time to get it. At least 6 months, 8 months is probably more the norm.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to that, the reason we don't just stock them in inventory is because, like you said, when we have a truck that, we could get a Peterbilt built in 2 to 3 months, and then on top of that, we got to wait 3 to 4 months the whole time. So when the OEM delivers a truck to us, it's our truck. So we start paying flooring and stuff like that, and then we have to wait for the bodybuilder. And so by the time it gets to us, that truck is already 6, 8 months old, and then you've got 3 more months to sell it before the year model changes, and it puts us in a very tight window. So it's so custom too that when you have something you've designed as a certain spec, you're gonna have a lot of other people, since it's a custom build, other people that want to do their own thing or do something different. So it's really more of an ordered truck. I mean, I don't know if Stoops just stocks them, but for us, it's something that we order. We let people know that, hey, we have the ability to order it for you. We can get the stuff to you. We work with Bolt and ARI, but I mean, we don't just keep it in inventory. We do have trucks coming in, but like Jason said, a lot of it is just for them because ES has already kind of placed that order with us.
Yeah, as far as availability, for me, it's worse off than it is for just a tractor at this point. The reason for that is because I don't have slots that are allocated out for those. So right now, if you wanted to come and spec out and build a new straight truck, best case I can tell you is I might be able to get one ordered next year, meaning it's going to take 8 months minimum probably to get that truck built in service. So you could be a year out, very easily, or a year and a half really, very easily before you could get a straight truck. It's also one of those things, everybody comes in and has their wish list of stuff, and then they see the price tag on it and get a little bit of a sticker shock, especially with what prices have done the last few years. You can't quite get everything that's on your wish list.
Yeah, and so what has happened over the last 3 or 4 years during COVID, as you can imagine, is dealers did go out and they pre-bought trucks, let people order them, didn't take down payments on them, and we come off peak season COVID and people aren't picking trucks up. So you have dealers who've been burned on straight trucks specifically. You have banks who've been burned on straight trucks specifically. You'll find it very difficult to get a dealer to pre-order you a truck without major money put down. You'll find it very difficult for a bank to say we will finance a straight truck without a lot of money put down because they don't know what to do with it. There's not somebody else just standing in line to buy that truck. So all the trucks that we order on the tractor side, if something were to turn bad, we could give them a certain amount of notice and say, hey, look, we got to push orders out on tractors. On the straight trucks, they're coming. When they come, we have to buy them. If we ordered a truck for you and you choose you don't want it, we have to buy it. We cannot leave the dealers with straight trucks on their lot. It's just too expensive, too long of an order. It's all on trust. And so again, that's part of the reason why people buy through us, because if you do have to back off an order, we may have somebody who can step in behind you and fulfill that order and not burn our dealers, because we can't let them get burned on those orders. Obviously it would ruin it for everybody.
Okay, Jason, I'm going to pull one of the latter ones in the queue, but it's connected to this line of conversation. Then we'll shift back over to the rest of the questions in the queue. On this same line of questioning then, why straight truck over tractor, or should we be considering straight truck versus tractor? Several folks are looking at one or the other as they look to launch their own business, and they're trying to decide which one should I do. So what would you actually be advising? Is it that they, is it really tractor in expedite and just leave the straight truck behind?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. So if you're simply looking at the money side of it, in every bucket, when you put a tractor next to a straight truck, a tractor will make you more money. It costs less to purchase. It costs less to operate because you don't have the box. You have some lesser maintenance on the truck. And it is a commodity. If you have to get out of it, you can always get rid of a tractor. So it's easy, from a purchase standpoint, it's easier you make more money, it's less purchase price, and you can get out of the truck. But when you go to quality of life, it's different. A tractor has a trailer attached to it. So unless you drop that trailer, you cannot go park a tractor just anywhere. So now all of a sudden you're in truck stops, you're at way stations, or rest areas, things of that nature. Whereas a straight truck, you can go to Cracker Barrel, So there's a quality of life, a major quality of life difference between the two. So it depends on what you're prioritizing. Then the other side of it is, what are you willing to do to get the experience? So most of the motor carriers in here have about a 2-year over-the-road experience. And over-the-road means over-the-road. Your bus experience probably does not qualify. If you drove local in city, it probably does not qualify, depending on how what you were driving and how you were delivering. So they want over-the-road, logging, overnight driving experience to be able to look at you from a safety standpoint and underwrite you for insurance. So that comes into play. So on a straight truck, Panther and FedEx will both let you get started with a clean MVR. Last time I checked, Todd, I'd see you. Is there any experience requirement for a straight truck? Not for straight truck, no, Frank? No. So if you say, hey, I have my CDL, I want to, my significant other has been driving a tractor, whether that be your husband or the wife, we want to drive together. The only way you can do that immediately is getting a straight truck. And then you got to figure out, okay, if we want to get to a tractor, how do we do that? There's options for that. So I know specifically that Panther offers a straight truck to tractor program. So if you drive a straight truck for a certain amount of time and you're saved, then they'll let you, if you have a Class A, ease into a tractor. So the answer to that question really is what's your priority? If it's easy entry, straight truck's the easiest way to get in, low hurdle for experience. And if you're a fleet owner, that can mean a lot if you're recruiting drivers, because now you don't have to just recruit Class A, you can recruit Class B, and you can give people a much easier time to get in the truck and get that truck filled. If you talking about an operating truck, you just cannot outperform a tractor that's running in a good freight environment. I mean, you just can't outperform it. So.
Okay, we're gonna have to rattle through these a little bit. The pressure's on, folks. Let's see here. I've done lease purchase. Another person said my former company offers lease purchase. A lot of questions about just low barrier to entry and also walk away lease purchase programs that are out in the market. But you're saying that I'll be a true owner. How does that help me? What's in it for me? There were several questions, essentially, if I summarize all together.
So here's what we have to offer. We have a try before you buy it, where you can come in and you drive. You basically rent a truck from ES and you operate at one of these motor carriers. And you try the motor carrier, you try the truck, and you say, do I like it, do I not like it? You can go from a straight truck to a tractor. You can make those decisions before you invest your money, because every time you change your mind in business, it costs you money. And so we said, you know what, you can learn on our dime, and we'll walk with you through that and let you learn utilizing our equipment. So you have that option. Then you have traditional financing. Some people say, hey, I have the credit, I don't need to wait to gain experience with you, I have a down payment, whatever the qualifications may be, and we can do a traditional finance, and the title would be in your name, we'd be a lien holder on it. Every month you pay principal and interest, and your equity in that truck would build, but it is your truck and you are buying that truck. Then we also have what we call a lease with an option, and that lease with an option means that it starts out as a lease, and then a certain amount of time, and it can be 24 months, 36 months, it depends upon the length of the contract, it flips from a lease to a purchase agreement. And so you have the option, but you're still building equity in that truck. So the difference that we do on ours is when we set those payments up, most of the time a lease purchase is the way that term is usually used in our industry, is that when you want to buy that truck is moved back to market. You don't really gain equity. You're basically leasing that truck. If you decide you want to buy it, you have to buy it at a much higher rate. And then all of a sudden you have to almost start over again. So you wind up paying for that truck 2 and 3 times. And Steve's he's run finance. Am I saying that fairly well, Steve? Yeah, that's right. So your cost of ownership at the end of that lease purchase is normally significantly higher than had you just gone through a traditional finance route. What we've done is taken a traditional financing document and mirrored our leasing option with it. So at the end, the end purchase price is the same, that you have spent the same amount of money in principal and interest, regardless of which way. But what it allows us to do is get very aggressive. And so the technical side of it does matter, in that if you do a traditional finance, your name's on that title, and as a financer, if you go bankrupt, our title goes bankrupt with you. And so it makes us have to be very careful how often we do that and who we do that with. It makes us be just conservative. So PACCAR is a financial company, and they're very conservative because of that. You can lose control of the asset. With the lease on the front end, what it allows us to do is the title stays in our company's name and then flips at the purchase agreement, which means you've gotten over those first couple of years when most businesses don't do well. We've gotten to know you, you've gotten to know us, and now if something were to happen to you financially, that title cannot go into bankruptcy. And so just being very honest with you, it allows us to be more aggressive with you, giving you an option to get financed. If we had to do everything traditional finance, we would not do anywhere near the deals, because we couldn't afford to have assets that we're having to pay for and keep our banks whole while it went through a bankruptcy court. And so again, it just allows us to extend an offer, but we marry the two up. Financially, you couldn't tell the difference between our traditional finance deals and our lease purchase deals from how much it costs, that's the unique part. Normally, the lease with the option is multiples times more expensive.
And I know we're crunched for time, so I'll try to make this quick, but that's one thing that I could go on a tangent on. You want to talk about government regulation, it should be in commercial finance. I mean, there's a lot of people that take advantage of owner-operators and lease-to-own programs. And to me, I mean, if you do have that option, please make sure you go through it and you understand what you're getting into. If not, get legal counsel, because there's, I mean, as someone who's sold a lot of trucks to owner-operators, I've seen where guys they've paid double the truck's value, and at the end of the lease, they still don't own the truck. And I've seen that happen time and time again. I've seen 45% interest rates. I've seen things that would, just make your skin crawl on how people are getting taken advantage of. And so, to me, the difference here is they're up front with what they're doing, and they really care about your success, and they want you to be an owner-operator. They want you to be successful in business. And to me, that's the most impact that you could have with an individual.
The age of the vehicle and mileage, any concerns that you would be suggesting we look at? I assume a lot of trucks have many years on them. What's the right way to go? For example, my friend replaces his truck every 2 years to protect warranty access, but his payments are really high also. What do you recommend? Age, vehicle, mileage, et cetera? Any feelings on that?
You'd have to bring in both the spec people, the used truck side, to know what the used truck market is, and the trucker CFO, and let Colton walk you through the complexity of the value of depreciation for taxes, which as a truck owner, you should almost never pay taxes. You should be able to write off the vast majority of your profits through the depreciation of your equipment. That's part of it, and you ought to utilize it. But it also has to return a profit, an operational profit, so you're having to balance a truck note with repair and maintenance. And the truck note is steady. Even if it's high, repair and maintenance peaks. And once it starts going up, it never goes down. And it just keeps climbing. So you have to balance that. But that has to do with your spec, how long you amortize that truck for, how many miles. So a solo puts half the miles as a team on theoretically. So a team might need to turn a truck in a peak season. We were seeing it get down to 18, 24 months. They needed to get rid of that truck because they were going to burn the warranties out on it. A solo, it might take them 4 years to burn their warranties up. So that's very specific to your organization and how you operate, how often you ought to turn that truck.
Okay. What type of warranty is available on the trucks we're talking about? What does the dealer offer, and what will ES do for me in a problem? What kind of support is there for my business?
Yeah, I mean, so warranty with the majority of what we're selling right now is Cummins to them. So, you're looking, we go all the way up to a 5 or 6 year, but initially what we've gone with, I believe, is a 4-year 500, and that's going to be engine and after treatment, and then you're going to 5 and 6. Okay, so 5 and 6, and so it's one of those things that it's really going to help adjust, the long term of the truck. The longer you have it, and the more coverage you have, the better off you're going to be. So, to us, the main thing you've got to protect on warranty is the engine and the after treatment. But really, the way the engines are made nowadays, it's really the after treatment systems that need to be protected. And I think what we're selling on the new side, and I'm sure Freightliner's pretty much mirrored this. It's going to cover every component you're really going to need to look out for. That's going to really hit those high levels of reconditioning costs.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing with the Detroit engines, doing a 5-year, 500,000 right now. You can extend that out if you want. Even if you didn't want to do it right now, we do offer options as that warranty is coming to expire to where you can extend it out, and it would just extend the factory warranty. You're not dealing with an aftermarket one. We were talking about Premium 2000 earlier. This is an actual factory warranty. It will go out to a 7-year 750. Transmissions, Detroit, I know the Eaton's the same way, 5-year 750 for the transmission and the axles. We could also add in extra coverage. We're not doing this. You get a 1-year base coverage for Freightliner built components or installed components. There are options out there if you'd want to put some additional warranties on that as well. You can do like a comprehensive package, or you can kind of pick and choose individual components and groups that you want to do.
I mean, just to add on to that, I mean, warranty is like speccing a truck. You can get as complex as you want and as specific as you want, but really partnering with them, we've kind of identified the things that they have issues with in their product and making sure that those issues are covered going forward. And so, again, you got the base warranty, they've added the extended warranty. I think really what we've got set up in the 2025 models is, I feel like that's a very good setup for what we've got going on right now.
Last couple here. Can I get the truck spec'd without collision mitigation?
No. So we will not bring in a piece of equipment without the safety on it. And so the position we take in that, one, so our insurance that we have in place, we're normally 30-40% below market. So if you were to take and buy insurance through us, so for FISDAM, we can normally get it to you 30-40% cheaper than you can go buy it on your own. The reason for it is because of the safety training that we force. We force it on those trucks that we are, that are in our rental program. We offer it out to all the owner operators and fleet owners, but participation in that drives down insurance coverage. The safety equipment drives down insurance as well, but it also has a real world effect to it. So once you put somebody in a piece of safety equipment with safety, their behavior does change, and you can't go back. So that's another piece of it. Once somebody's used to having that lane assistance, crash avoidance type stuff, you can't take it away from them because it's now built into their muscle memory that that thing is there to assist them. And if you take it away, you find out that there's a lag in decision making. So that's another reason it's hard, especially as a fleet owner. So what we don't ever want to do, one, I have, my wife and my children have been here this weekend, or, the last couple of days. I wouldn't want a truck, passing my family on the road where the drivers are tired, or they're anxious, or they're worried, or what have you, and harming my family. I would not want to put less than what I can invest into on the road to pass your family. And so we made a decision several years ago that as soon as it became available, it's real, it has proven benefits, and honestly, I don't understand why anybody would not want it on there. It's when you think about a business and the what it brings you back as far as a return, and if you're ever sued, I don't know, I hope nobody in here ever has to have it, but I can tell you our motor carriers here have all faced it. As a fleet owner, we have faced it where you've had a truck kill somebody. When you walk into that court and you face a family and you know that the equipment you had, destroyed that family, you want to go in there with clean hands. You don't want anybody pulling up an email, pulling up a dispatch, a falsified logbook, a DOT inspection that you failed, your brakes were out of adjustment, or where that you said, I don't need to worry about that, I'm okay. And it doesn't even have to be on that accident. Any of those decisions that you've made, you'll find will come back to haunt you on that day, both in a court of law, in your business, and then you'll have to live with it. And that's a hard thing to live with. So it's for that reason, absolutely not. We will not finance equipment that does not have safety equipment. If you want to order a truck without it, the dealers, the actual manufacturers are making you sign that you made them take it off the spec. So they want that decision on you because they're telling you that's a bad decision and somewhere down the road it's going to cost you everything you got.
And I believe Nate referenced it earlier too. Even on the used truck side, we're seeing more and more people wanting it. So it's like a manual transmission now. I mean, you go to trade a truck, and if it doesn't have safety features, we do ding it for that because it's harder for us to sell now.
You want some too?
I would just add real quick, it's probably going to be mandatory very soon through regulations with the government. I'm really surprised it hasn't happened yet. I would not be surprised in the next maybe 2 years or so if something comes through, but just kind of a guess. But it's here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere, so you might as well learn to love it.
Okay, last one on buying a truck. Trucks have been very overpriced. Do you see the price getting back to a norm? Is there a norm? I don't know, but that's the question. Do you see pricing changing?
I'll tell you what we saw, and then the dealers, if they choose to, can speak to the price. And if y'all can negotiate a better price, we'd appreciate it. But what we saw was the allocation, obviously the last couple of years, the price went up tremendously. It has stepped back over the last few months, and so it's never coming back to norm. Even though I would ask for it, I would say we'd love to see a $150,000 new truck, $160,000 new truck. Yeah, I wouldn't bet on that ever coming around again.
Now, are you looking to improve your success in trucking? The ES community has the programs, support, and advantages that you need to build and grow your own trucking business. If you'd like to learn more about what ES can do for you and how you can become another success story in the ES community, visit successintrucking.com.